first time joining us. If this is your first time joining us, we always begin with the meditation. So if you came in the middle of it, we will, as a follow-up, I'll send out the link. We don't record it because then it has, what do you call it? Copyright issues. So my name is Myrna Lepre, and I'm going to be your MC today for this Self-Care Isn't Selfish, Heal Your Family, Heal Yourself, Your Family, and the World series that we do each month. And I want to welcome each of you here. And thank you for taking the time to join us. In case this is your first time joining, I just want to mention where this series came from. A group of us who are coaches, actually we were all trained by Hilda Weinman, who is the founder of Generational Healing in Maryland. And we are also members and leaders of Women's Federation. We felt inspired to be able to combine our healing work with the vision of Women's Federation, which is women working together to establish a culture of heart in the family, community, nation, and world in order to achieve genuine and sustainable peace under God. So today, before we introduce our speaker, we want to give a chance for everyone to introduce themselves, and I'll call on you so that we can be able to keep things moving. So we want you to say your name, where you are living, where you are in the world, and if you have been part of a support group, just mention it. Don't tell us all about it. You'll have a chance to share that later in breakout rooms. But because our topic today is about how support groups are a part of our strategy. So my name is Myrna Lepre, and I'm located in Northern California, San Francisco Bay Area. And I've been part of several support groups, but actually I have to say that this group of coaches that I work with is one of my support groups. We started as a peer coaching group and evolved into doing this program. Okay, so let's see. I'm gonna first introduce I'm gonna include the members of our team who are here today. So Roseanne, can you go next?
Sure. My name's Roseanne Kennett, and I live in Newport, Oregon. Yeah, I was part of that support group with Myrna. That was pretty awesome. We were all coaches trained by Hilda, and then we decided to support each other, and it evolved into this. Also, when I was a young mother, 4 or 5 families got together on a regular basis as a support group. We'd hire someone to watch the kids in another room, and then I actually got a job doing support groups for young mothers, which was amazing. I got to bring my babies to work with me and support other young mothers. So
thank you, Roseanne.
That's it.
Okay. All right, Donna.
I'll have a chance to talk more later about my experiences with support groups. I'm Donna Avey. I'm in Anchorage, Alaska. For me too, our peer support group to work together for Women's Federation and for our family coaching and healing, that's been like top of the line growth factor for me. So I think I affirm with my sisters here that it's powerful. And then we're learning how to create more support among all the Women's Federation people too is powerful for me too.
Okay, thank you, Donna. Irmgard, can you go next?
All right. Good afternoon. I just happened to go on Facebook at the right time. I had said I was interested, and it reminded me. I'm sitting in the office of Women's Federation right now in the New Yorker. I live in Bloomfield. And I had 2 support groups. One was La Leche League. And then I tried out the Overeaters Anonymous, but I did not continue that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Irmgard. Hey, Hanka.
Hello, my name is Hanka Musilová. I'm from the Czech Republic, from Europe. Actually, I never thought about supporting groups, but probably I'm the supporting part of the supporting group in original energy code training. So, thank you.
All right, thank you. Vladine, I'm sorry if I've mispronounced it. Please correct me.
No, that's okay. It's Blondine. Yes.
Blondine, okay.
Yes. So my name is Blondine Stringer. I'm in Canada, in Ottawa, and I didn't experience a support group. I don't whatsoever. So it's my first experience.
Okay, well, welcome. All right. Andrea?
My name is Andrea Rosanen. I live in Maryland, between Baltimore and Washington, D.C. I tried one time a support group from an AA, Anonymous, I guess it's Alcoholic Anonymous, because of my father who drank a lot of alcohol. I thought it would help. I didn't continue too long. I was there maybe for a few sessions and that was it. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Marie?
Yeah, hi. I live in California, Bay Area Church in Sunnyvale, 1 hour from San Francisco. I am mother of 5 children. Actually, my supporter group are my neighbors. I cannot live without reaching out to my neighbors because we lived a little bit far from the church, like an hour, which is not that long. But for day-to-day base with 5 kids, I really need a support. And in order to have that support, I needed to reach out to someone which is reachable, which is my friends, my neighbors next door to me. And because I'm from Lebanon, that's my culture, to knock on each other's door and say, hi, and you like to have coffee with me? And that was really my supporter group. And I couldn't absolutely survive raising up 5 children without my neighbors. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Marie. Yeah, support. There's a very big, broad range of support groups. Okay, Nancy. Sorry, Nancy Asmundson, and then Nancy Hinson, you're next.
Yeah, my name is Nancy Asmundson. I'm in Davis, California. Usually I rely on my friends a lot to, just discuss issues or whatever, but recently I joined a real love group with Myrna. And so, yeah, that's about it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Nancy Hinson, I'm not sure how you say it. You're muted.
There we go.
There we go.
Well, this is the first time I have really come to a support group with Women's Federation, just to be in a support group. I have done other support kinds of groups, working with foster care and adoptive care. I was part of a support group for that because my husband and I were foster parents and then adopted. So that was a big one. Yeah, I think that's the main one I've been involved with, but it's very nice to be here.
And where are you living?
I live in Ohio, Southeast Ohio.
Southeast Ohio. Okay, wonderful. Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, Svetlana.
Hello, my name is Svetlana. I live in Washington State. Now, currently in the high noon parenting class. Our mentor is June Kanak.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Dee, are you able to unmute and share?
Hello, this is Dee. I live in Northern California, actually outside of San Jose, Gilroy, California. And this is really my first support program or involvement. I retired and I'm in a new neighborhood, so I don't know people here. But I really have gone to a few of your functions that you put on online, and I have really enjoyed it. So I thought this would be a good idea for me to reach out to other people and as they reach out to me. Thank you for the invite.
Yes, thank you. Well, glad you're here. And Shauna.
Hello, everyone. Sorry, I'm around my family, so I'm in and out. But my name is Shauna. I'm from Anderson. I live in Anderson, South Carolina. I have 3 young daughters, 7, 5, and 3. And my family is visiting me right now. But yes, support groups are essential for me. I have mom clubs that I'm with, and MOPS, which is a Christian ministry moms group that I'm with. And yes, I love what someone said about neighbors too. That's wonderful. But yep, I'm excited to be here and learn something and give and receive. Thank you.
Thank you, Shauna. Is there anyone that I missed? I think I got everyone. Speak up if I missed you. All right. So just a reminder that if when you're not sharing, you can keep yourself muted. Thank you. I think everyone is. And at this time, I'm going to introduce our speaker today, Donna Avey, who already told us that she lives in Anchorage, Alaska. And she's a really amazing person who has been part of many nonprofits, being the project manager and assistant director in Alaska, and information and referral specialist for United Way and her own New Connections ministry. So she may speak more about some of these, and I'm going to let her further introduce herself. And welcome, Donna.
Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me. I have a presentation to give. Been a little nervous about it, but it's split into 2 pieces because we want this event today to be interactive. And I built it out just having made some research on support groups. And then I realized, well, support groups can be a lot of different meanings to different people. So I will talk about my understanding of support in my life through groups and that kind of thing. And I will give you some definitions to work with. I'm going to screen share right now so that you'll have a chance to see my slideshow. And we'll start talking through using my images. Let's see if I can do it the right way. Please bear with me. I apologize. This is kind of new for me. So, oops. How can a support group be a part of your self-care strategy? That's our
Donna?
topic today.
Donna,
Yes.
if you hit up on the upper left, if you hit from the beginning, then we won't see all of the other things. Do you see that? We'll just see your slide.
You see everything right now?
Yes.
Oh, I see. I apologize. I don't see everything, but you
Here we
do.
go. Perfect.
Okay, back up. So now you see it okay?
Yes.
So we're going to cover self-care and what it means to us. We're going to do a little bit of review on definitions about self-care and then talk about support. And my story is where we decided to start because maybe you can relate to parts of it. This is my husband and I, Jim Avey, and we've been married almost 40 years, and he passed away in January of 2021, so just a little bit over a year ago. through my experiences recently, I have been very much in touch with the importance of support and support care. But I have past experiences. He was born into a family where his father and he was raised in Alaska. So that's why we came here in 1989. And we moved into a house where he was raised in the early 90s. And at that time, because he had been verbally abused and sometimes slightly beaten, where he would be taken out of the house and then brought back later, he had traumatic experiences from his childhood that he was working through as we were raising our children. So I got in touch with a program called Developing Capable People, and I learned to teach it and give it. And I worked with our community schools and our PTAs. And the process of doing that gave me a support group. Yes, we weren't talking about my in-home situation, but I could model the skills that helped me grow and help me to confront and heal the things that were happening in our home. Then later, my husband in 2003 lost his kidneys. And at that time in Alaska, we learned that there wasn't really a kidney patient support group. So we went on to help organize that. And through that, we could visit with people through monthly picnics and then an annual event of education that were also caregivers and also kidney patients. And that was remarkably supportive in a very traumatic time. He eventually got a kidney transplant in 2009. One last comment. My workplace, when I was an information referral specialist, started in like 2005. I started working with that project of 211. But in 2010, I had cancer. And I went through radiation treatment, and I had 33 sessions after work. I would get off at 3:15 and go straight to cancer and to the oncology rehab center to my radiation. And I got a little snippy. I had problems sleeping, and there was fatigue, and there was pain. And my supervisor at work said, "You need a counselor." So through my workplace, I also received the encouragement to get extra help to help take care of me. Then I want to go on to how recently support has just been showing up, because my husband started declining in 2019, and it got worse and worse and worse. And if you've ever taken care of anyone in their end stage process, you know it's not particularly easy. So I put a Facebook post out there that talked about my profile picture, which is my husband and myself. And I explained to people through the post that I don't know when I can change my profile picture to just myself, because I know I have to stand on my own without my husband. But I don't know that much about grieving. And I wasn't sure about it, but 6 people responded. And one of those people is here with us today. We talk about confidentiality in our group, and she may not want me to point her out, but I want to express my gratitude for her. She is assisting us as kind of a facilitator, and she's been through some grief training with hospice. But let's talk about, how does our support show up? This is the parable of the drowning man. And I have a reference list I'm preparing, but I actually put 3 different references about the parable, because this is a pretty interesting parable. Everybody's heard it by now. It's been around for a while, but you know about the guy. He's the guy on the top of that front red roof. And he's praying to God because he sees a flood and he wants to be saved. And so a man in a rowboat rows by and says, "Jump in, I'll save you." And he says, "No, I'm okay. I'm praying to God and he's going to save me." And so then a motorboat goes by and says the same thing. "Jump in, I'm going to save you. I can save you." And the man replies the same. "No, it's okay. I'm praying to God and he's going to save me." Then a helicopter comes by, said, "Grab the rope and I'll lift you out to safety." And he says, "No, thank you. I'm praying for God and he's going to save me. I have faith." So the helicopter reluctantly flew away. So then what do you think happened? He went to heaven and he's talking with God, and he after the water rose and he drowned. And he got a chance to talk about it. He said, I had faith in you. But you didn't save me. You let me drown. I don't understand why. And God replied, well, I sent you a rowboat and a motorboat and a helicopter. What more did you expect? And honestly, how many times it seems like when God wants to send me support, I kind of have to be nudged pretty hard to get it. One of the precepts of Women's Federation, we have a pin that says the new pin for membership. If you want to get one, just sign up online. It's the logic of love. I think it's Armgard can tell us. Anyway, it's living by the logic or with the logic of love. I was reminded this morning that a spiritual place, or maybe my best supporter is Heavenly Parent, is my God. And that self-care, scooch back. Self-care is about loving ourselves. And the scripture came up this morning and I was so inspired because that's the one I wanted to, that relates to me about my sense of support groups. That I love God with all my heart and soul, but also I love my neighbor as myself, but I can't love my neighbor as much without loving myself. During the process of working through what happened in our home during the beginning of COVID and homeschooling all the kids because they couldn't go to school, I have 2 adult children with their spouses, and we have 4 grandchildren here in Anchorage, and we all created a support group. And at one point toward the end of Jim's life, it was 24/7. And I never realized the power of family when we have the synergy to focus on the same goals and work together carefully. It was very powerful and moving experience for my husband, who is the grandpa Jim in this. And I'm sorry, the picture's a little fuzzy. But family, my sisters too, I was born into a family with a women's support group. I have 3 younger sisters, so all 4 of us, and my father never felt he had a chance. So what is self-care? We're going to go over a working definition of self-care, a few more points about it, and what is support, and then how is a support group a self-care strategy? We'll bring that up too today. Self-care has been defined as the process of taking care of oneself with behaviors that promote health and active management of illness when it occurs. And individuals, we daily engage in some form of self-care, usually with food choices, exercise, sleep, and dental care. We want to go on to the point of that if we don't take care of ourselves, we don't have the same quality of energy to take care of other people. So we think it's important to recognize that taking care of ourselves gives us a way to make taking care of others joyful for us and the people we take care of, and that we also usually have more energy to work with meaning and purpose toward worthy goals. And so if we're taking care of ourselves, especially as women, we're the most likely to make the world a better place for all of us. Self-care in my professional life, for 14 years, I did my 56,000 calls, was daily. We had toys at our desk we played with when the phone wasn't ringing, and if we needed to play. And then we had, we supported each other as a team. We also would take self-care breaks. And if there was an intense call where it was somebody had intense feelings that we might have been impacted by, we debriefed ourselves. Other caregiver support groups also talk about the value of taking care of ourselves. So is self-care an indulgence or a discipline? There's a person named Tammy Foreman, when I did the research online, that had been published in Forbes magazine, and then later posted her article, and then it went viral because she said self-care is a discipline, not an indulgence. She's had a few points to make. I'm going to try to run through them quickly. She said that most people think of self-care backward, in a backward way, that it's self-care as a concept is usually exclusively aimed at women and generally people who can afford self-care things. And not so subtly, it's that women need to be reminded to take care of themselves because they're so busy taking care of everyone else. And there's an assumption in that we should be taking care of ourselves, but that doesn't absolve us from trying to take care of everyone else at the same time. Well, that's the second way that she portrays the so that self-care is backwards. It's characterized as an indulgence. That it's generally considered things like expensive bath products or luxurious chocolates, spa appointments. And although I love that thought for self-care, and my sisters and I, especially when we get together, we usually do some spa something. But that if we're worried about the thread count on our sheets, then we have the wrong idea about self-care. Her primary point is self-care is not an indulgence. Self-care is a discipline, and that it requires tough-mindedness and a deep and personal understanding of your priorities or our priorities, and a respect for both myself or yourself and the people you choose to spend your life with, or I choose to spend my life with. So self-care requires the discipline to do the hard and boring things that are good for us. And I love the picture of the person walking up the steps, because walking up the steps is not always fun, but it's always better exercise. So we have a few points. We're hoping that you will look at this list and write, if you have a pencil and paper, please write down one that you would like to discuss in a breakout group. How do I know what self-care I need? So when I feel that I need self-care, how do I know what self-care I need? That's one question. Or what could be in the way of getting the self-care that I need? Is there an obstacle? Full-time job, vacation or no vacation or respite, no, and lots of children? What is in the way of getting the self-care that you need? Have I examined my beliefs about myself and self-care? What do I really believe about myself, about my self-care? Do I have habits that sabotage my self-care? And do I need a support group to help me be accountable? So please choose one of these, and I'm going to turn this back over to Myrna. Myrna, do I stop sharing now?
Let's just give it one more minute. So we're going to go into big breakout rooms with groups of 3, and you're going to have 15 minutes total. So that would be 5 minutes each. And the reason why we're giving you the opportunity to talk about one of these, of course, this is just a starting place. You're not limited to that, but is to really examine your own need for self-care and to have the opportunity to begin exploring it if you haven't. Several people mentioned in the introduction that you started a self-care or support group, but you didn't continue. So maybe what that would fit into what kind of thing might be blocking me. Maybe it wasn't the right fit, or maybe I need to have a different kind of support. So maybe you can stop sharing now, Donna.
Sorry, I'm trying to find out how to get to stop share. Oh, here it is. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. All right, so just before we go into breakout rooms to discuss, are there any questions, any clarifying questions? And just so you know, those questions are just starters. What we want you to do is to explore this topic, to think about it, to think about what you've tried or what you want to try. There's no wrong answers in this. Any questions? Okay, so you will need to keep track of the time. You will have 15 minutes, so somebody in your group can be the timer to just give each person 5 minutes. All right, I'm going to open the rooms and we'll see you back here in 15 minutes. So Donna, I was going to join one of the rooms, but I didn't put you in a room. Do
Okay.
you want to be in a room or?
No, I'm fine. I have to run to the bathroom. so
Okay,
it'll
I
be
figured
good.
that. Okay,
Thank you.
all right, I'll see you in a bit.
All right, thanks.
Look at that.
Oop, as soon as everyone returns, let's see, 21 seconds. Okay, welcome back, everyone. And I'm going to turn it back over to Donna again.
All right, again, indulgences here because I'm learning how to do this. Let's see. Hi, sweetie. So how was it for everyone? I hope it was good for your breakouts. And I'm going to go on with the rest of our presentation to talk about more definitions. I want to say that I put together a reference list because, as you might imagine, there's so much information in different directions about different kinds of ways to use group dynamics to get give and take, and especially for support. One of the last reference is for people like my son who has a PhD in clinical psychologist, that they want peer study reviews, peer review studies. So there's a very brief abstract for support groups on that, if you're one of those people who prefers to know what the scientists say. So let's get moving on this. What is support? It's a verb and it's a noun. So that means that it, as a verb, it means to bear up and the weight of others, or the part of the weight, or all of the weight or hold something up or give assistance. And as a noun, a support can be a tripod for a camera. It's something that also bears the weight. So I want to talk also that we consider supportive, or the verb in action, supporting, is also connected to our roles and to relationships. So what we want usually for support or supportive relationships, we think in terms of communicating and good communication skills, such as active listening and give and take, completing the loop of communications, noticing breakdowns and addressing those things. And we want to be heard and understood so we can experience healing through the support we go through. And we know we need mutual benefit from supportive relationships. But the essence of all support, from my perspective, in my life, in my self-care, is a heart thing. So where do I find my support? So please raise your hand if you have already found support groups for yourself, or a friend or a family member or someone in your care. I can't see the screen, so I'm sorry, I can't see all the hands that went up. But most of us have had some experience with it. But where do we look to find a support group, possibly like for myself in a new area that I've never needed it for before, with grieving and grief? Well, Mayo Clinic when I was having cancer, was a very supportive source of information for me. I got their newsletter. And they encourage support groups. And so I found an article from them that you can look at through their Mayo Clinic newsletter. And it has how to deal with stress through support groups and some of the factors. This quote touched me. If you're facing a major illness or stressful life change, you don't have to go it alone. A support group can help. But you have to find out how to choose the right one if you don't know. And then another point that was made is that usually, especially if it's about like getting older or a chronic health problem that comes up or any incidental thing that happens, we get the medical treatment, but we might have surgery and need support for 5 to 6 weeks. So then we might need a support group, or we may even need emotional support group, and that a group, a peer support group can fill that gap. So the article talks about the structure of many support groups, benefits of them, possible risks, and I'm going to talk about that, pros and cons, about online support groups, how to find your support group, and then questions that come up when you're wanting to join a support group, things you might want to ask yourself or the group, and how it can get the most out of the group. So we're not covering all that. It's in that article that I put in your links for references, but I will cover a few more points. Benefits, you're not alone. And for me, that's a key factor, and expressing my feelings is important. And getting the information through a different source. Okay. And also finding self-understanding through more self-awareness as I listen to other people talk about their issues. In terms of questions to ask about support groups, in this group that we see here, can we know automatically who the facilitator or moderator is? And at one point was made that peer groups often have to find their own moderator, and there are a lot of decisions that are made as the group. But some groups are designed, like Grief Share, for example, is a design course for 16,000 communities, Christian communities use throughout the United States. So it's, some things are well established, and almost all support groups, especially about sensitive emotional things, have confidentiality guidelines. There are ground rules. It's always good to kind of look into it. And then when you're inquiring, you can talk to your doctor, you can talk to nonprofits, you can look through many nonprofits specific to a medical condition or a life change will have their own support groups. And then they also have referrals for others. And then 211 centers throughout the United States and throughout other parts of the world do have helpful information about health and social services. And then if you have a topic, Google it. And you can also Google support services. There are red flags. You don't want anything that says they have a sure cure, that you have to pay a high fee, or that would pressure you to do a product or a service. And when you decide that you might try a support group, try it for a few weeks. And if you're uncomfortable sharing, listen. And then if you are comfortable, maybe you would speak to your own situation or bring in information that you have. If it's not a good fit, you can consider a different group. And don't forget to tell your regular medical care provider that you're doing it, and it's not a substitute for medical care. But if you haven't found the support group, you can know that there's information out there how to make your own. And the University of Kansas had in their educational resources a self-help leaders handbook called Leading Effective Meetings, with some authors that I've referenced in your reference list, and that has a lot of key points about how to organize a peer group, a peer support group, and that can be helpful. So there are 500,000 or more according to one source, and they're inexpensive and they're effective, and even peer support, even peer reviews science about mental health support groups says they can be very effective for solving problems or supporting people through their problems. So why would I have trouble finding my support group? Or what does it mean for me to get grief support? Well, usually when you want to make a decision, you want to look at the pros and the cons. And when you're insecure about something or you're not sure, you've never been through it before, you look at the cons. For me, my biggest con was I was in deep grief. It was deep, deep in my core. And so emotional, I didn't want to be sobbing in front of people. I didn't want to be too emotional. And it's all new. It's new to me. I never lost a spouse of 40 years. And I was uncertain how helpful it would be. But when I thought it through, I realized I really could benefit from hearing from other people and processing feelings with fresh perspectives and making new friends and hearing their insights. So the Facebook post people who said they would want to talk more with me, eventually I decided to call each one, and we decided to start having little meetings and see if it's something we wanted to do together. So in getting support, you want to define the vehicle for your self-care needs. And so you need to kind of be in touch with and assess what would meet my needs. What are my self-care needs now? If you're not sure, then you might ask for help to find out. A counselor or a good friend, the sounding boards, our neighbors, like we were talking about, the ones we talk about everything with. And then when you realize what your right support is, then you have to decide, do you feel safe to use a support group? And what would be reasonable expectations? What would be a good trial period? And if I want to quit or if I want to keep going at that date, then make that decision. But I say, if you need support, keep looking until it's found. I want to show you this blanket. Armguard helped get this blanket to me during Jim's decline as it started down. It's a comfort blanket. It was knitted by sisters. Many people actually put together these beautiful blankets that came out to support us as a comfort during that time. There are other examples of mentoring and support. And again, we're back to, if I wanted to love my neighbor, even as I demonstrate my love of God, then taking care of myself and loving myself is, for me, very important. And for most of us, I think if you give looking for more support a possibility in your mind, then like the motorboat, like the rowboat, like the helicopter, the universe and our heavenly parent or God or whatever your concept of that is will come and support our process. And thank you for participating with me as your speaker today.
Thank you, Donna. So if you have any questions, you can either write them in the chat or you can unmute. Donna, do you mind not stop sharing, and then I will open it up to the gallery view again. Thank you. So is there anyone who has a question or comment from what you heard Donna share? Guard says this was very interesting and helpful. Don't be shy. She is asking, did you share on Facebook? among friends or public? How did you put the post, Donna?
Well, I'm a reluctant Facebook user. So I have friends. I don't even know how many people are in my Facebook community right now, and some are more public than personal. So I shared it with my friends as far as I recall. I'm trying not to share with the people that I don't exactly know. So I don't label everybody a friend, but a lot of people are my friends. So it kind of went to a mix.
It was your group, your what Facebook considers friends when you befriend them. Okay, got you. You know, I might try that.
Yeah, an area of interest even for your blankets. Who likes to crochet or knit?
By the way, that group is called Strings of the Heart.
Oh, that's right.
And it's now a project of Women's Federation. And yeah.
It's
Yeah,
exciting.
actually, we could make that more of a support group. I got a lot of I got very stimulated from listening to you, especially the second part.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else have questions or inspirations that they would like to share?
Well, I'm also reminded that in the early days of America, quilting bees or women would get together. Women need groups more than men do, generally speaking, and they would get together and they would quilt or they would knit or they would sew together. And in that process, they shared and they helped each other. Sorry.
Yeah, my background is Mennonite, and the Mennonite women always would get together and do quilts, and then the quilts were sold at an auction, and the money was given to some kind of relief or to help people in times of disaster, something like that. Also, in our West Coast subregion, Marie Gopper has a Peacecraft small group that has it's on Zoom and people can join once a month and they do some kind of craft. I told her my craft was gardening. Can I still join? And she said, sure. But
well, I've actually joined the Peacecraft group, and typically it's very small. Yeah, so I tried to do my craft a few times, but it's just like hard to really concentrate on that, because like if you were knitting or crocheting it might be easier, but I couldn't concentrate on what I was doing. So and then somebody tuned in that doesn't craft, and she actually does some like counseling, for Veterans Affairs and stuff. So we had a very deep discussion about, certain issues. And so some people were crocheting or whatever, but other people were just talking. So sometimes you end up just having a really good give and take with other typically sisters.
Nice. That's great. That sounds like a very good group.
Yeah, you can join us, Donna.
Thank you.
You're crocheting or something? What are you doing?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
My crafts are around the kids. I've been helping my granddaughter learn how to sew. So we made a pillow for my grandson for his birthday. And she then went on to, she's not 8. She went on to make a doll for herself. She designed it. She's very artistic.
Nice.
I think also that some of the small groups that I've been part of, we started as like a book club, like we committed to reading a book together and reading a chapter each time before we met and then discussing. But I think when it goes beyond just the content of the book and we start opening up and sharing our hearts more, I think that's when we really make that connection that creates safety, trust, and the ability to grow together, to create community.
That's especially happening with the memoir book. And then I've done that with young women, young moms before they have all their kids and aren't available anymore. And we did one with Kodiak over Zoom for 4 years, and it got deeper and deeper. Nobody wanted to quit, but eventually with more kids, they quit.
So in the chat, Marie said, pray together. I believe it is helpful. Jesus said, if 2 or more get together in my name, I'll be there. Or go out in nature together. It's very helpful. Actually, in our community, we had a Japanese brother who was a scout leader, and he once a month led hikes in the community. He would research and do the hikes. He passed away. He was killed actually a few years ago, but he many people still remember it. And it was also a very intergenerational kind of thing where, you know, older and younger people could go together and talk and relate. And it wasn't like a sit down, let's study kind of small group. It was a hiking group. So
Myrna, I have a experience of, I think one should not do a support group. It wasn't a support group maybe for each other, but in our community, we were asked if there were people that wanted to pray for our younger community members, right? Especially those who are not so connected. And so I said yes, but they pray by themselves. Oh man, I prayed my heart for lots of young people, but I thought that was a killer. How can you really make a big impact if everybody prays for themselves? And I was like so disappointed that that's what that was. And many years back, I had this experience in a Christian mom group where they called that in a chord, and very consciously, you know, somebody prayed, and there was also a Bible verse, kind of the theme of that particular prayer meeting. And then they were saying, then you were kind of repeating, not word by word, but some theme or some point what that person praying before you, ahead of you, was praying, right? So this was like the accord, and then you did your own prayer. And that was very, very bonding. I forgot about that group.
So it sounds like you've had 2 different experiences, one which was not bonding and not so supportive, but another one where you really felt powerful bonding.
Yes.
I think that's part of also knowing ourselves and what you know resonates with us. Because recently I was on a call where they were talking about, you know, there's a woman who wrote a book about what's your God language, and that everybody doesn't resonate and connect with a higher power in the same way. So sometimes we have to know what's ourselves. So I want to make sure that we don't run out of time. We have a couple of announcements. I'm going to share my screen here. Let's see here. If I do this right. So we found this, I found this little meme or cartoon that I think is very, very appropriate for our reminding ourselves, like, we don't let this happen to our phone running out of battery. So we need to let it happen to us either. And seeking out support is really helping to make self-care a priority. And I want to introduce next times in April. We're going to have a seminar about thoughts, emotions, and actions. A word can save or destroy. And we have a guest speaker, Hanka Musalova, who's from the Czech Republic, and she's here today. And I'm going to have her, we'll send out this flyer and information. It will be on Saturday, April 9th. And we'll send this out with the follow-up email. But I want to invite up Hanka to just say a few words about, about the program next week. Or next month, sorry, not next.
So, how Mila said, I'm Hanka Musilova from Czech Republic. And actually, I'm a certified practitioner of emotion code and practitioner of body code, and recently also original energy code, which goes into more spiritual stuff. But actually, maybe I will not talk about so much about emotions. I thought that anyway, it's very connected without thinking. So I prepared some short presentation about how thoughts and emotions influence our life and our behaving and our personality. And this I would like to share with you next time. Thank you.
Also, she's a really amazing painter. You can see one of her the edges of her picture over there. It's really beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, so one other thing that I wanted to mention, and I will also send this out in the follow-up, is something that I'm doing. Let's see here. Actually, I wrote a book called 7 Gifts to Give Your Child, Parenting That Will Touch Their Future. And I'm going to be starting probably in May, a small group, which is focused on parents who have, could be any age, but mostly my goal is probably parents who have children that still live at home. And so it'll be a 7-week small group. And also the end of this month, Katerina Connery, who's the vice president of Women's Federation, asked me to give a talk on March 29th about my book and about the 7 gifts. The first gift is belonging and the second gift is connection. So I will send out this information also in the follow-up email. But I think that it's really a wonderful way actually to use a book to connect with others. Of course, the book has to resonate with the people that are in your group. And in this case, I'm not doing it for support for myself. I'm doing it for the support of the parents. All right. Roseanne, did you want to add anything before we finish today?
Well, one thing that just came up is this monthly series is a kind of support group. I really liked hearing from everyone in the beginning. I think if we can do more of that, then this can really evolve into a type of support group as we're learning together each month, new tools. And yeah, really great to see you all.
Thank you, Roseanne. So Irmgard asked in the chat if that book will be beneficial for children, adult children who still live at home. And
not the book, your support group.
Oh, my support group.
The one you're going to start for 7 weeks.
Well, the one I'm going to start is based on that book. But yeah, I may do another one that's because we all are, if we have kids, we never stop being the parents, right? We're still moms. It's until we die, it's part of it. So, but there's a different set of needs when we have adult children than when we have young children.
You're going to do this under this series Katerina started with the Momo or whatever she calls that?
Well, no, I'm just doing a program. So the series would be under my coaching business, I guess.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. Also, you never know once you put it out there into the universe, what happens. On Friday, I found myself giving a parenting webinar to people, to parents in Iran. So, you know, it just came to me. Someone asked me, could I do this? And so everything was simultaneously translated, you know, and it's like when I started being a coach and looking to create community, I have no clue that this would be an opportunity. So sometimes, you know, we put things out into the universe, then, you know, it responds. Heavenly Parent brings things back into our lives where not only can we be able to be supported, but we can support others as well. So,
So they just found you. They just found you.
well, somebody, okay. So I know, for those of you who are part of Women's Federation, you might know Marilyn Angelucci. Her son, Joshua, joined some of my support groups, and he recommended to his mom, who lives in the Middle East, that they get me to speak.
Networking, okay.
Through his mom, I guess.
Yeah, networking.
Oh, you should tell me, Mina. Yeah, I just add the one thing. I just get 10 books from Mirna about this 7 ways for educate children. And actually, I want to reach out to my neighbors who are young mothers. And it's really a very good tools to reach out to people that other ways it's hard to reach out. So I am using this book to reach out to my neighbors. And I asked Mirna, maybe one time she can come and talk about her book and even sign it. So I just received 10 books today from Amazon.
Yeah, so I think also we can, you know, be a support for each other because we can be networking, we can connect, and we can go beyond just what we know. So thank you everyone for joining us today, and we hope that you come back next month. So